Kyle Busch's sponsors and paint schemes for 2023 have been revealed. Vince Welch will not return to Fox Sports in 2023, and many sponsors are leaving NASCAR, including A-Shock. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back for a video. We got a ton of NASCAR and other motorsports stories discussed here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight in those really quickly. We're going to start by talking about Keen Parts. As Keen Parts is going to sponsor Ryan Ellis for 6 races in 2023. Keen Parts has been a loyal sponsor to Ryan Ellis for many years. I can't remember exactly which races they're going to sponsor, but it's great to see that Keen Parts will continue to sponsor Ryan Ellis for multiple races in 2023. Good to see a sponsor loyal to Ryan Ellis, and maybe eventually they will sponsor him on a full-time basis in the not-so-distant future. But it's great to see that Keen Parts will sponsor Ryan Ellis in 2023. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about auto owners, as their 2023 schedule has revealed on what races they're going to sponsor Martin Truex Jr. in 2023. Those 8 races are as follows: Richmond in the spring, Bristol Dirt, Darlington, which will be a throwback scheme, Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, Atlanta in the summer, Michigan, the Indy Road Course, and the Martinsville race, which will be the cutoff race in 2023. Really excited to see the races that they are going to sponsor. I think that is now a majority of the race. I think Auto Owners' schedule has been revealed, and also Bass Pro Shop's schedule has also, I think, been revealed for 2023 as well. Really excited to see and happy to see that Auto Owners' schedule has been revealed. And now we're going to head jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about a couple big personal news stories. A couple big drivers in the NASCAR Cup Series had some pretty big news to share over the weekend. On New Year's Eve, Bubba Wallace got married to his longtime girlfriend, Amanda Carter. Huge congratulations to Bubba Wallace on getting married to Amanda. They've been in a relationship for many years, so massive congratulations to Bubba Wallace on getting married. Really exciting news there. Also, Kyle Larson has got another child, his 3rd child, which is named Cooper. Him and Caitlin welcomed a baby boy into the world. Congratulations to Caitlin and Kyle on welcoming the new child in the world. That is, like I said, the child's name is Cooper. So congratulations to both Kyle Larson and Bubba Wallace on what they've been able to see over this offseason, and very happy for both of them. Really exciting to see and happy to see that that has happened. So congratulations to both of them on that front. And now we're going to head jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're unfortunately going to take this episode to a sour note. Tragedy struck the motorsports world on Monday evening around 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. Ken Block, an icon in the racing world and in the off-road world, also owner of DC Shoes, unfortunately passed away in a snowmobile accident. Ken Block was an icon and, to me, a hero myself. I consider Ken Block one of my heroes. I play games like Dirt 2 and Dirt 3, which he was in those games, and Ken Block is an absolute icon to the motorsports world. His legacy will live on for many years, and I just cannot believe what happened. I was completely shocked, and I was in a state of shock when this happened. So my prayers and condolences go out to his family and friends at this time, and also to the Hoonigans, and just a really sad and tragic day. Ken Block was 55 years old. His legacy will live on for many years to come, and just an awful and really sad day in general for racing in general, that we just lost a legend in Ken Block. So I feel terrible, and I feel really heartbroken about Ken Block's passing currently at the moment. And now we're going to head jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Martinsville Speedway. As it was revealed before New Year's that Martinsville Speedway is going to be keeping the stripe from Ross Chastain's viral wall ride up until April's race weekend. Once that weekend comes around, that will come down, but they're keeping up for a very long time. We had the legendary wall ride, which I think is one of the most incredible moments in the history of NASCAR. In fact, I think it's probably the greatest move in NASCAR history to happen. No one has ever been able to see it at a wall ride. Drivers have attempted it in the past, but what Ross Chastain did there was absolutely incredible and absolutely amazing to see. So I'm happy that Martinsville is keeping it up at the racetrack. I think it's really exciting to see, and like I said, really cool to see that they are going to be keeping that up at the racetrack. I think it's just incredible that they're keeping that up for the long term, and very exciting to see that they are going to be keeping that up long term. Really exciting to see for sure. And now we're going to head jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Parker Kligerman. As Parker Kligerman was talking about basically victory lane stuff, if they should do basically the interview on the racetrack and outside the racetrack, but Parker Kligerman also confirmed that he'll be racing with Henderson Motorsports for 10 to 12 Truck Series races in 2023. It's already been confirmed that Parker Cleveland will drive full-time for Big Machine Racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2023, but we knew that Parker Cleveland was going to be running a bunch of other races in the other two series. He may make some Cup starts this year, and he also will run 10 to 12 races with Henderson. I think Parker Cleveland will have a chance to win all those truck races, to be honest, because Parker Cleveland is a really underrated talent, and I think you look at what he's been able to accomplish in Xfinity as well. I think he will be able to win at least 1 or 2 Xfinity races with Big Machine, because that team actually showed some huge progress throughout 2022. And I think in 2023, you've got to be really excited if you're a fan of Big Machine Racing for Parker. But I think he will do a good job also with Henderson in his select starts with that team. And I think he's going to do a really awesome job with that team. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Greenville Pickens Speedway. Now, there's been a lot of rumors on Greenville Pickens Speedway that they were actually going to sell the track, and the track was going to get demolished. But according to Ricky Harden, this is actually not the case. So according to him, he says the track has not been sold, according to Kevin Whitaker, and will not be demolished in 2023. However, there will not be racing at Greenville Pickens Speedway until there is a new lease agreement that comes in. So at least there's some good news and some bad news. The good news is that the track is not going to get demolished, because we don't need tracks in the racing world to be taken down. We got situation Cletus McFarland going around at his track, where that track might unfortunately get demolished due to real estate development, and real estate development is coming into play across the country. Myrtle Beach Speedway has kind of fallen into the same problem as well currently at the moment, and it's good to see the Greenville Pickens is not going to get demolished. The sad news is, at least until there's a new lease agreement that comes in, there's not going to be racing at the track, which is, in my opinion, really, really disappointing to see. That being said, though, it's good to see that Greenville Pickens Speedway has not been sold and that the track has not been demolished. It's really good news for sure. The track is still going to be around and that the track is not going to get demolished. I think it's really good to see, and at least the track is not getting demolished. And now we're going to head jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Project 91. Now, before the new year, Justin Marks put out a really kind of cryptic tweet on Twitter talking about Project 91, kind of teasing plans, saying that Project 91 is going to be exciting in 2023. What does he mean by that? Well, Project 91 is expected to make quite a few starts in the 2023 season. It's unclear how many races, but Justin has said in the past that the goal for the Project 91 car is a run around 6 to 10 races in 2023. Now, no driver has been announced so far for Project 91, though there have been drivers that have been rumored that could drive for Project 91 in 2023. One of those being Shane Van Gisbergen. We know that he's had conversations with Justin Marks in the past about driving for the team, but it's not been confirmed at this point if he's going to race or not. Some people think maybe he could run the Chicago Street Course, perhaps, which he has a lot of street course racing experience. So that is very possible that he could run that event. Also, Julio Castroneves' name has been brought up in the conversation, but a lot of people think that he could drive for the money team in the Daytona 500. We may not see this ride in the 500, and he might drive for that team. There's been other drivers. I think Braden Kostecki's been a name that's been brought up in the conversations, and there's been other names of people that have been interested in Project 91. I think it's going to be exciting to see what happens with Project 91 and what drivers they decide to go with, because I think that's going to be really, really fun to see. And I think you look at what Trackhouse been able to accomplish, and there's just so much intrigue around this team currently at the moment. And if you're a fan of that team, you do have to be really, really excited about that. So really exciting news for sure going around when it comes to Project 91, and we'll see what happens with Project 91 and what they decide to do. So I think it'll be exciting, whatever they decide to do. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Leland Honeyman Jr. As it was announced on last Friday, that Leland Honeyman Jr. will drive for Alpha Prime Racing in 2023, driving the number 45 car in select races. It has not been confirmed how many races Leland is going to run with the team, but let's talk about this move for Leland Honeyman Jr. I think Leland Honeyman Jr. is one of the most underrated drivers currently racing in general. He took a Young's Motorsports car that was in the ARCA East Series, and he nearly won a couple races in 2022. I think he finished second in one of the races, I think at Five Flag Speedway, if I'm not mistaken. So I really am high on Leland Honeyman, because I really think that that guy has a lot of potential to win some races. Now, I'm not expecting Leland Honeyman Jr. with Alpha Prime Racing. I'm not expecting Leland to come in there and completely set the world on fire and do like incredible. But I think Leland Honeyman will actually have some good runs, because I think that Alpha Prime Racing, they're making some big moves right now. They've got a lot of big things going on with that team. I hope that with them expanding to 3-car operation, they don't fall into the trap of Our Motorsports, because that team could be gone. We don't know if that's confirmed or not, but Our Motorsports is rumored to be shutting down. But I think they're making some big moves, hiring some big names, and Leland's another driver I think that could have a lot of potential to do some good stuff in this series long term. I could see him one day winning a Cup Series championship, and I'm being really serious about that because I have a lot of praise for Leland. He's a really talented driver, and I think it's good to see that he's getting picked up from Alpha Prime, and I think he'll do a really good job in his starts, and hopefully he'll be able to do a good job. So, in my opinion, a really great pickup for the team, and happy to see that Leland Honeyman will drive for Alpha Prime Racing by part-time in 2023. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Homer Friesen Racing. As Stuart Friesen put out a tweet last night showing that Homer Friesen Racing will be announcing their 2023 plans tomorrow, January 5th, 2023. Now, we already know at this point that Stuart Friesen will be returning full-time to Homer Friesen Racing in 2023. There's also a lot of rumors that Lane Riggs is potentially going to drive full-time for the team if they can't secure the funding. There's a lot of people think that maybe they're going to switch manufacturers, but I would think that they are going to be staying with Toyota in 2023. Now, they're going to be expanding to 2-car operation on a full-time basis next year, maybe because we already know that Jessica Friesen, she'll be running at Bristol Dirt. That he confirmed that, TobyChristie.com, and also confirmed that to SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. The big question is what other announcements and what other drivers could drive for the team. Maybe Caden Honeycutt, perhaps. Maybe some other drivers are going to drive for the Homer Friesen Racing Group, but if it's true that Lane Riggs is officially going to the team, I really think Lane Riggs could win a race with this team. And I'm being serious when I say that because Lane Riggs, in my opinion, is a really, really strong talent. He's a really, really good driver who has a lot of potential to get things done. And I really think you're going to see him really step up to the plate with the team. He was leading laps at Phoenix at the end of this year. And that's really impressive with the 62 truck, which doesn't get as much funding and doesn't also get as much performance as the other truck does. And we didn't see anybody else like Todd Bodine do great with that truck. We also did not see Jessica do good in her select starts with the team. So Lane Riggs getting the best out of the equipment was really impressive to see. So it's great to see that we see they're going to be announcing their plans, and we'll see what drivers do drive for that team in 2023. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about the NASCAR float. Now, the Rose Parade was a couple days ago on January 2nd. NASCAR actually had a float for the 75th anniversary float. Roger Croup was on the float, and Richard Petty was on the float, and he also had the Jeff Gordon 24 Rainbow car, the 43 iconic STP colors, and also the 3 legendary Dale Earnhardt car. Unfortunately, there was a very big situation that happened that I was very upset with, and a lot of people were upset as well. What happened? Well, the NASCAR float was not shown on NBC. Now, according to Daniel Trotta, she says that there was a float that broke down in front of it, and that's why the float was not shown, because they actually were the next float to go, and the last 3 floats were not shown due to that float being there. This, though, is really frustrating for many, many reasons, and the reason that a lot of fans like myself were really pissed is because NASCAR spent millions of dollars, well, not millions, but they spent thousands of dollars likely making this float to make this float really, really good. Only for it to not be shown on NBC, which I think is a big problem. Now, it also, to keep in mind, was not shown on ABC, but ABC is not a NASCAR partner. A NASCAR partner like NBC should care about this, and they should keep their window extended. I understand that TV windows are a thing. That is a thing as part of in general. But you should be prepared for those kind of situations, and that's what's really frustrating is that it was not shown. Congratulations to KTLA, though, because they showed the float, but it is really frustrating to see that NASCAR could not even show the float. I think it's a really bad look for NBC. And I feel bad for NASCAR, too. NASCAR is not at fault for this. It's a shame that they were put so far back in there, too, because they should have been a little bit closer to the front, and maybe then they could have shown it. But it's really frustrating that NBC kind of snubbed NASCAR's float. It's kind of frustrating and disappointing that this happened. And in general, I was very unhappy because NASCAR spent a lot of money on this, and from what I hear, they were not very happy. So very disappointing for sure what happened there, and honestly, I think it's just overall a bad look for NBC in general. They screwed up this badly, and a big magnitude fail for them, in my opinion. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Texas Motor Speedway. As a lot of people started noticing something about Texas Motor Speedway, and one thing is that the Cup race is actually going to be decreasing the length of their fall race from 500 miles to 400 miles. Another race is actually shortened. The race is the Atlanta race, which their spring race is also being shortened to 400 miles as well. This means going into 2023, there are only going to be 5 races that are going to be 500 or more miles. Those are the Coco 600, both Talladega races, which is the Elliott 500 and the Geico 500, and also the other 2 races being the Daytona 500 and the Southern 500 as well. Let's talk about Texas Motor Speedway's length being shortened. This should have happened a few years ago. The racing at Texas, in my opinion, since they did the reconfiguration and the repave in 2017, has been very below par. The racing has not been good. So the less I have to see at that track and the less racing I have to see at that track, the better is going to be. I know there's a lot of rumors and rumors about the future of Texas and maybe them kind of shortening the track, maybe making it a short track or maybe making like an Iowa Speedway type of track or something like that. But they have an IndyCar contract, so maybe they go back to the old configuration. There needs to be changes at that track. The racing has not been good for a very, very long time, and they really need to change the track. But this is a good step in the right direction, shortening the length of the race. The less I have to watch of the racetrack, the better it's going to be, because the last Texas race was a complete disaster with tire failures, cars catching fire, safety with the next-gen car being tested, and also terrible officiating. It was one of the worst races I've ever seen in my life. It was just a complete embarrassment. And it's a shame, too, because there was points where racing was good there this past year, but unfortunately it got overshadowed by everything else, and it was very disappointing to watch and also very disappointing to see as a fan of the sport. But like I said, I just was completely disappointed, and I was distraught by everything I saw because, like I said, it was extremely disappointing to watch and just extremely disappointing to see, and I was very frustrated by what I saw on TV. So disappointing for sure what happened there, and like I said, just completely just frustrating to see what happened there. So again, at least there's some changes coming to Texas Motor Speedway, and good to see that Texas is going to have some changes coming for 2023 with the length of the race. I'm happy that the race is getting shortened from 500 to 400 miles. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about potential companies that have left NASCAR. So there's a bunch of companies not listed on a bunch of teams' partner pages. Let's go through all the partners that are not listed on the pages. First, Focus Factor is no longer listed on the Petty GMS partner page. Now this is really interesting considering Focus Factor has had a long-term, as actually a multi-year deal with Petty GMS, but they're no longer listed as a partner, which kind of surprised me more than anything. So they may be gone from the sport. We don't know at this point. Another company they may be gone is Built Bar. They're no longer listed on the Spire Motorsports partners page, which is also surprising because I thought they had a multi-year agreement with Spire Motorsports, but that's a little bit surprising and shocking. Also, TaxSlayer is not listed as a partner of the Jordan Anderson Racing Group, which indicates to me that very likely Meyer is not going to be returning to the team. That has not been confirmed yet at this point, but it sounds like there's a good chance with TaxSlayer not being listed as a partner on the Jordan Anderson Racing page that they might be gone. Also, Kohler is no longer listed as a partner on the RFK page, which is a little bit surprising because I thought they also had a multi-year agreement with RFK Racing. Now, these have not been confirmed to leave yet or not leave yet, but this could be an indication that all these sponsors might be gone from teams. This could change, and there might be some changes over there. But the biggest one that we actually know that has been confirmed is A-Shock. As Adam Stern reported yesterday, the A-Shock has parted ways with Hendrick Motorsports after 2 years, and they will not also sponsor Chase Elliott at all past the 2022 season. This actually was a little bit of shock to me. I thought A-Shock had a longer deal. We knew that they had a 2-year deal with Hendrick, but I thought the deal was a little bit longer, to be honest. Now, I would not count out the possibility of A-Shock being out of the sport completely. I think there's a chance they still could be around in the sport, and I'll tell you why. A-Shock is part of the Dr. Pepper brand. Which team has the Dr. Pepper brand? 2311 Racing. I wouldn't be shocked or surprised if we end up seeing A-Shock move over and maybe go over to 2311 Racing perhaps, and maybe sponsor Bubba Wallace or maybe Tyler Reddick this upcoming season. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up doing that. So I wouldn't count out the possibility of A-Shock completely being out of the sport. There's a possibility that can end up happening. But I think it's kind of a shock, to be honest, that A-Shock is no longer going to be with Chase Elliott. So what companies come in and sponsor Chase Elliott next year? That's something that we're going to have to wait and see on what they decide to go and end up doing. That being said, though, kind of a little bit of shock and surprise that A-Shock is no longer sponsoring Chase Elliott there, but it's also kind of not a surprise that that's kind of happening, to be honest with you. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the first of two major stories in today's episode, as we're talking about Vince Welch. As this came out of nowhere, but Vince Welch tweeted on New Year's Eve that he will not return to Fox Sports in 2023. Basically said he's not bitter about it and thanked for 20 plus years working in the industry and loved his job at Fox Sports. This kind of came as a shock to a lot of people, including myself, that he is not returning to Fox Sports because Vince Welch has been part, I believe, of the Fox Sports family since 2015 and has been a Truck Series commentator in some sort of fashion since 2016. So I was a little bit surprised when this came out because I did not expect this to come out. And Chase Elliott was also shocked as well about this announcement, saying that he was completely shocked. He loved Vince Welch up in the broadcast booth. Now, when you think of Vince Welch, you think of two things. First of all, Vince Welch, an absolutely incredible pit reporter. He was one of my favorite pit reporters, did an incredible job, and always gave a really good opinion, and someone that could be trusted in the garage, and did an incredible job as a pit road reporter. On the other hand, though, his TV commentating was not the greatest in the world. Now, to be fair to Vince Welch, he did have to do it remotely because they never brought the TV commentators for the Truck Series since the COVID-19 pandemic. They have not brought the TV commentators to the racetrack since then, which is a little bit frustrating. I've been really frustrated about that. I think Vince could have done a better job if they had been at the racetrack than they not been at the racetrack. But like I said, though, Vince Welch has really had kind of struggled being in the TV booth. I don't think he really was meant to be in the TV booth. The big question is now, with Vince Welch no longer being in the Fox Sports booth, who's going to replace him in the Fox Sports booth? In my opinion, I would love to see Adam Alexander do it. I would love for Adam Alexander to do the truck broadcast and do the Xfinity broadcast. I think Adam Alexander is one of the most underrated and someone who I think is generally really growing as a TV commentator. So I would love for him to get the opportunity to be the guy who's actually doing the TV commentators for the Truck Series because he does a really good job and brings a lot of energy as well. But I think what a lot of people are thinking is that it's going to be Jamie Little. Now, Jamie Little, in my opinion, she's a really good pit reporter. Her TV commentary was mixed reviews. And there's that Talladega call she had where I think Corey Heim won, which was a little bit not the greatest to say the least. It wasn't the greatest commentary I've ever heard. So I think it's very possible that she could be 100% take over the job, being the truck commentator. And let's be honest, her call at Knoxville was not the greatest either. So while I do have a lot of respect for her as a pit reporter, I don't think she fits a TV role good. I think Adam Alexander would be a better fit for that, and I think he would do a better job being the TV commentator. That's who I want to see. Also, talking about Fox, please bring the trucks broadcast back to the racetrack. The fact you guys have not brought him back to the racetrack the last years, I don't understand that because it makes the broadcast so jumbled, and it's just frustrating. You cannot even have them at the racetrack. Same with ARCA. Bring him to the racetrack. You can bring your pit reporters to the racetrack, so why can't you not bring the TV commentators to the racetrack? I think that's been something that's also been really frustrating to see, is the fact they've not been able to bring him there. The big question is what's going to happen to Fox Sports, because they need to be, they're saying that they're going to be on the next TV deal, but we don't know at this point because TV negotiations and that contract is going to be up. This year, though, bring them back to the racetrack, and whoever takes over, do a better job as a TV commentator because it's been frustrating to watch how Fox has been the last few years, in my opinion, and it's been kind of a little bit frustrating to see. So we'll see what happens in regards to that, but Vince Welch not being at Fox was kind of a shock to a lot of people in the industry and a big surprise to a lot of people as well. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the final major story of today's episode as we're talking about Kyle Busch, as multiple of Kyle Busch's sponsors and paint schemes have been revealed for 2023. We've already seen two of the paint schemes up to this point, that being Cheddar's and also Alsco uniforms. But a couple new sponsors have been revealed. On New Year's Day, on January 1st, on Sunday, the first one was the BetMGM scheme. Let's look at that scheme. That scheme, in my opinion, does look really good in my opinion. I like the colors on it. I think it works really well. It does give vibe of that Timmy Hill car that he used to have, which I was a big fan of that Timmy Hill car back in the day. But it gives a new identity to the brand and a change to the BetMGM colors. Also, the number I think works really well on this car. And it's a good sponsor utilization as well. The other company and sponsor that was revealed for Kyle Busch was Lenovo. The Lenovo car got revealed. And honestly, the Lenovo car actually also looks really good. This got revealed on Wednesday. Got revealed on Tuesday. You had the number, the good sponsor utilization, and the car actually looks real good. In fact, I think it's actually my favorite one that's been revealed so far for Kyle Busch because it's so simplistic, it looks clean, and it looks really good as well. But this is really, really huge that we've got most of the sponsors revealed. The only car that's not been revealed at this time, I can't remember the other sponsor that he has, but he's got 5 sponsors going into 2023. So there's 5 companies sponsoring, that being BetMGM, Alsco Uniforms, Cheddar's, which is going to have a majority of the branding, Lenovo, and there's another company that has to still reveal their sponsor and paint scheme for 2023 as well. But this is really, really big for Kyle Busch that all his sponsors pretty much have been revealed for 2023, that he's got all of his sponsors set for 2023. And there is still a possibility that Kyle Busch could have more sponsors revealed before the end of 2023. We actually thought we were going to get some more sponsors announced before 2023. Tori Galita has said that, but we never got the sponsors. But it is possible we could see other companies potentially sponsor Kyle Busch in 2023. Maybe Sling. We had that Sling car that was shown where Lefty designed that. Maybe they could be a sponsor for Kyle Busch. Who knows at this point. But it is really good to see that Kyle Busch's new paint schemes and new sponsors have been revealed for the 2023 season. And they're really one of the first few teams that's really got most of their cars that have been revealed. But we still don't know the other companies at this point that will sponsor Kyle Busch. Maybe we'll see another company like, I don't know, Hot Wheels sponsor. Maybe Realtree sponsors Kyle Busch. Who knows at this point, but it is really good to see that we're starting to get more indications on what's going on with Kyle Busch over there. We still could see him maybe some Xfinity Series starts. He maybe goes back there. Who knows at this point, but it's exciting to see that Kyle Busch's new 2023 sponsors have been revealed. Really exciting to see, and happy to see that Kyle Busch's new sponsors have been revealed. Really good to see for sure, and happy to see his new paint schemes have been revealed. So, that is going to be today's NASCAR news and motorsports news video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, notifications on, to be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's go jump over that and combo your thoughts below on today's video. What are your thoughts about Kyle Busch's new paint schemes and sponsors? Are you excited about these paint schemes or not? Let me know in the comments below. And what are your thoughts about Vince Walsh not returning to Fox, and what changes do you want to see to the truck's boot? Let me know in the comments below. Tomorrow, I'm not sure what's going to be on the channel, to be honest with you, and maybe a Haley Deegan video talk about it. Can she step up in 2023? Friday will likely be a NASCAR news video on the channel, and then during the weekend, I'm not entirely sure what's going to be on the channel. We're just going to have to wait and see what gets dropped. So anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.